deep diving into Terminal World and how the set shaped up the metagame for week 1. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys do not miss out more awesome content. Now, Terminal World was this brand new set that brought Ritual Beast, Infernoid, even like Genix support to the game, and ice barriers. All 4 of these were actually pretty highly anticipated, except for Genix. Nobody was too excited about Genix. So let's call it what it is at this point. And we were like, oh cool, 4 new power-ups. We'll actually see what we can expect with the meta and how these decks will actually change the game. It wasn't a lot, actually. So the first list we're going to be showcasing here is actually Genix with a super heavy samurai package. Now, this build, actually with triple magical midfield breaker, this list caught my attention because, like, playing 47 cards is actually kind of crazy to me. And this was the only version of Genix to actually show up out of the whole weekend and actually do well, which means, I understand like the functionality of the deck was, you have to be able to get through the monsters, start going down the combo lines, but like you need to shave off some of the fat and you need to be able to have these cards doing other things. And unfortunately, you really can't. That's where Magical Midfield Breaker kind of comes into this deck and goes, hey, you need to be able to kind of offset the meta and actually make sure that your Genix monster can resolve. If not, you're just kind of a worse synchro toolbox at that point, and that's kind of bad. Next up is a ice barrier deck that was playing Horus cards. And the biggest takeaway that I got from this is, woo, Horus monster, big synchro stepping stone. And it amazes me out here because for how much power creep that we have seen the Horus package bring to the game, that people are looking at all of these ways to find and make this deck, actually function. And I find that to be kind of interesting. Now, for major little things that this deck had going for it, I see we are playing the Aruka or at least one mini Aruka in here. Most of the main deck monsters feel good. I also do take note that we are playing 2 copies of the Coral Anemone for the revival back to the field, which does kind of help this deck out, but it does leave a little bit to be desired. Spells lineup, I think, is fine. Now, we also had another build of this deck actually show up. Now, this one doesn't play the Horus package. This build actually did find success out here playing the Atlantean package, of all things. Actually, I hadn't really considered, many interactions with the Atlantean stuff with his deck, because, Marksman does get you some floatability, and of course, most builds that I playtested against online myself are just Ice Jade ran a grind. Like, you want to see the Ice Jade. The Ice Jade is the thing that makes this deck go around, and I do agree with that, actually, a lot. I think that unless you're playing, or you need to be playing the Ice Jade package in this deck, because it is the solid backing that does tend to make this deck get off the ground. So those are the only 2 Ice Jade builds that we saw on early week 1, though I do like the little instant fusion that this build is trying. Now let's get into the Noid things out here. I was actually really disappointed when I saw the Noid results. I was hoping that we wouldn't be seeing grass look screener versions because the TCG can't use grass, I was like, okay, maybe we can systematically see something that can transition over. No. Grass or bust. There's one exception to that rule, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Also, thrusting into the grass. Oh, don't mind if I do. Also, the OCG has 3 reasoning, 3 monster gate. This just screams everything that you as a Noid player want to see. All right, you should be getting off of the ground relatively easily and establishing absolutely no problem with this deck. So, board breaking is out of the question with this deck. It's just gas. And you also notice that they are playing 3 copies of the Void spell that forces the reveal of Void and discard for that build. Our second build actually challenges that build and goes, hey, what happens if, you know, we don't play the Void Wipe? What if we just put all of our skill points into Grass, Reasoning, and Monster Gate, and we see the Diabellstar package in here as well with the Fairy Tale Snow? This build, I think, had the most success out of its event, showcasing that, you know, hey, we can do some crazy stuff. Also, this build is playing a singular copy of Transaction Rollback, which means you can hit some of the dumb high roll stuff and do, if you see the Void and that, it's all over for your opponent. Like, it shouldn't be allowed, but that's what you can actually see. Also, post side decking down here, you see a Lullaby of Obedience. Some of the little cuter interactions that you can get. So, yeah, 260 card Noid builds straight off of the bat, and yeah, not what you want to be seeing. But there was one build that kind of creeped through the cracks, and it was a 40 card version. And I was extremely happy to see this 40 card version kind of coming out here and attempting to do its thing. You know, only 3 Reasoning, only 2 Monster Gates. The Fairy Tale Snow is not exactly the thing that you want to be seeing in a deck like this, but they're trying. All right, and for all intents and purposes, you know, some sort of results are always going to be interesting. Also, the Volcanic Queen is kind of cute. I suppose I like the idea there, but still not a fan of, you know, trying to play the heavier versions of the deck and be like, well, you know, you need to go about it this way. No, you can play the 40. It's just going to be a lot more costly in the way that it looks. I can tell that they were testing some very interesting things down there for the side deck. Now, Ritual Beast. This was where our winners of the weekend were. I think Ritual Beast ended up being the most competitive variant out of the deck. Now, the first one you see here is we are playing the triple copies of the Dimensional Fissure in this build. That's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you want to be able to make sure that your monsters are going to be able to go to the banish pile, do the little fun things, and then you do see the 2 copies of the Steed, because once you start kind of doing the Canahawk little interactions, you should be able to get through and establish. Most of your monster lineup should be pretty go-to here, and I do see that we are playing triple copies of the Macro Vacuum down here as well, and of course we have 1 crossout designator. Yeah, it just wouldn't be a build of something degenerate unless, you know, you have to rely on crossout designator to kind of make sure that the deck can get off of the ground. But the Dimensional Fissure and the use of the macro post side decking is very good. Now we shift on over here to our other list. Okay, well this reminds me of something. We're only playing 1 copy of the Steeds, though. I'm not a super big fan of that. For majority of the combos, I feel like you want to be seeing the multiple Steeds so that you can kind of get through and do what you need to do. But once again, you see the 3-dimensional fissures in that main deck. You see the triple macro down there. You see the 1 Pot of Prosperity in the main deck. That's fine. You do see one of the spell card that cheats out the Link 4, which actually I do like that a lot. And then you also see this deck is playing Skill Train in the side deck as well. Oh boy, another deck that can cheese this out. I also like the fact that they're playing the Lancium as well. So, you know, if you run into a matchup where, you know, you need to make sure that your opponent doesn't get the chance to get to Banish Town, well, that's actually kind of what you want to do. And then we had one more version of the deck here that I actually did find success in. This is it. No Dimensional Fissures in the main deck, though. They actually opted to side the Dimensional Fissures, and they actually played the other level 4 up there. I actually don't know what his name is next to the Max C. And then, of course, 2 Steeds. I still think you do want to see 2 Steeds. Like, trust me. Also, the little Super Poly in here for the board breaking of the Mud Dragon and the Garua. That feels a little bit more standard, I feel like. And then, of course, no stupid copies of Thrust in the main deck, side them with the talents. You do play the 1 copy of the Cheat Out the Link 4 spell card. We do play the SP Lumina and the Almirage. Outside of that, those are your heavy hitters and early impact for this set. Now, I hope that we do see more of these decks, because I love what we could possibly have with this. It's just, we got to be patient and kind of go from there. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.